winter wind whipped through the crowded market street as Daniel Kensington, a billionaire known for his sharp suits and even sharper attitude, stepped out of his armored car. His security team hovered behind him, but Daniel waved them off impatiently. "I won't freeze to death buying a cup of coffee," he muttered, adjusting the collar of his long coat. Despite owning half the buildings on that block, Daniel had never actually walked through the marketplace. Today he was in a hurry, hungry, and annoyed at the world. His meeting had run late, and he hadn't eaten since morning. So when he saw a nearby street vendor selling hot pastries, he headed straight there. The stall owner, a man in his mid-30s with a wide grin, brightened when he recognized the billionaire. "Sir, special freshly baked pie. Best in the market, you'll love it." Daniel didn't bother to question the man. Hunger had already clouded his judgment. Besides, who would dare serve anything unsafe to a billionaire? He had just raised the warm pastry to his lips when a voice, small, trembling, cut through the noise. "Sir, don't eat that!" Daniel froze. Standing a few feet away was a little girl, 8 or maybe 9 years old, wearing torn shoes and a thin jacket far too small for the winter cold. Her hair was messy, her hands red from freezing. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. The stall owner immediately snapped at her. "Get lost! Stop bothering customers, you filthy rat!" Daniel frowned. "What's the meaning of this?" The girl swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, sir, don't eat it. I saw him. He dropped it on the ground, then he stepped on it, then he put it back." The vendor's face drained. "Lies, she's a street rat. She says anything for money." But Daniel didn't look at the man. His eyes were fixed on the girl, on the way her body shivered, on her fear and yet on her courage to speak. "Why would you warn me?" he asked slowly. "What do you get out of it?" She lowered her head. "Nothing, sir. I just didn't want you to get sick, that's all." For the first time in years, something unfamiliar tightened in Daniel's chest. Someone with nothing had tried to protect him, and that was the moment everything began to change. The billionaire, Adrian Cole, froze for a moment, the fork still halfway to his lips. The beggar girl's tiny voice echoed in the cold alleyway again, trembling yet firm. "Sir, don't eat that, please. It's dangerous." Adrian blinked, confused. Dangerous? He looked down at the neatly packed sandwich he'd bought from the upscale deli around the corner. This was the kind of place known for overpriced salads and pristine counters, not danger. He forced a polite smile, assuming she was mistaken. "It's all right," he said gently. "I appreciate your concern, but—" The girl shook her head intensely, her matted hair bouncing. Her small hands balled into fists as she took a step closer, desperation etched on her face. "No, you don't understand. I saw them. I saw what they did in there." Her voice cracked, but her eyes didn't waver. Adrian's expression slowly shifted. He studied her more closely now, not as a street child begging for coins, but as someone genuinely terrified. Her cheeks were hollow, her coat was ripped at the sleeves, but her eyes, they were sharp, observant, too old for her age. "What did you see?" he asked. She swallowed hard. The man behind the counter, he was yelling at another worker. They thought no one noticed. She pressed her fingers nervously together. The worker dropped a big jar. It had something written on it, something I can't read. But the other man, he told him to wipe it up and throw the bread on top of it to hide it. Adrian's eyes widened. "And then?" he asked quietly. "They used that bread to make your sandwich," she whispered. "I saw it, I swear." For the first time, Adrian really looked at the sandwich. The edges of the bread slightly soggy, darker than usual. A faint, odd smell hit him. Something chemical, something he hadn't noticed before. A cold chill crawled up his spine. The little girl wrapped her arms around herself, shivering from both fear and the winter air. "I tried to tell people," she said softly, "but nobody listens to a girl like me." Adrian's jaw tightened, but this time he had listened. Slowly he lowered the sandwich, his heartbeat picking up. "Thank you," he said, his voice low and sincere. "You may have just saved my life." The girl looked up, startled. Adrian stood, eyes blazing with purpose. He was going back to that deli, and someone was going to answer for this. The billionaire, Adrian Cole, had never been stopped by anyone in his life. Certainly not by a barefoot little girl in tattered clothes. Yet something in her voice had frozen him, as though she wasn't warning him. but pleading. He lowered the fork slowly, his eyes shifting from the steaming plate to the girl's wide, frightened gaze. "Why shouldn't I eat it?" Adrian asked, keeping his voice firm but calm. The girl stepped closer, trembling. Because they poisoned it," she whispered. "I saw them. The man in the black coat put something in it when you weren't looking." Adrian stiffened. The restaurant manager, standing a few steps away, instantly stepped forward. "Sir, she's lying. Just a homeless child trying to cause trouble." The girl shook her head desperately. "No, I only wanted to warn you. Please don't eat it." Adrian's eyes narrowed. Something about the manager's pale face told him the child wasn't lying. He turned to his security guard. "Bring me the kitchen staff and get that plate tested now." The manager's face drained of color. The guard rushed off and Adrian crouched to the girl's level. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lila," she murmured. "I clean tables outside sometimes for leftover food. I'm sorry if I caused trouble. I just didn't want you to die." Adrian felt a strange ache in his chest. A child living on scraps had just saved his life. Moments later, his guard returned, breathless. "Sir," the kitchen worker in the black coat ran. Security caught him. He confessed. The manager was handcuffed next. Adrian stood stunned. He looked down at the small girl who had stepped between him and death. "Lila," he said softly, "you didn't just save my life, and you changed it."